You know, some stories are so powerful, they seem to exist outside of time. And today, we're diving into one of the most profound stories of friendship ever told. It's a tale that pits a golden palace against a simple hut, a king against a pauper, and it really makes you ask, what is true wealth anyway? Let's get into the incredible story of Krishna and Sudama.
So at the very heart of this story is this huge, dramatic contrast. On one side, you've got Krishna, the unbelievably wealthy and powerful king of the golden city of Dwarka. And on the other side, his childhood best friend, Sudama, a man living in just absolute poverty. I mean, their lives could not be more different. But their story is all about how true friendship can bridge any divide, no matter how wide.
So, you're probably wondering, how does a king and a pauper even become best friends in the first place? Well, to get that, we have to go way back. Back to a time when their titles didn't matter one bit, and they were just two kids at school together. See, at the ashram of their teacher, Guru Sandipani, all that stuff about social status it meant nothing. Krishna was a prince, sure, and Sudama was the son of a poor Brahmin, but there they were just equals. They studied together, they ate together, they shared pretty much every single part of their lives. They were completely and totally inseparable. But you know, their time together wasn't always perfect. There's this one story that's just fascinating. They get caught in a huge storm out in the forest, they're cold, they're starving, and Sudama happens to have this little packet of chickpeas. And in this moment of just overwhelming hunger, he eats them all by himself while Krishna is asleep. It's such a small, completely human moment of weakness. So what do we do with that moment? Was it just a starving kid making a mistake? Or, as some people see it, was there something much deeper going on? Was Sudama on some level kind of taking on a destiny of poverty to shield his divine friend from it? We don't know for sure. But what we do know is that Krishna, being all-knowing, he understood. And he forgave Sudama without ever saying a word. And that silent understanding, that's really the core of their entire friendship.
But of course, school doesn't last forever. Once their education was finished, their lives took, well, drastically different turns. And this is where that gap between their fortunes really cracks wide open, creating two completely separate worlds for these two inseparable friends.
I mean, their paths could not have been more different. Krishna went on to fulfill his destiny, becoming the magnificent king of Dwarka, a city literally made of gold. Meanwhile, Sudama, he became this incredibly wise scholar, rich in knowledge but lived a life of just crushing poverty, often struggling just to put food on the table for his family.
But here's what's so amazing about Sudama. Even with all his suffering, he never felt jealous. He was never bitter. His love for Krishna was just pure. He didn't worship him as some powerful king who could fix his problems. No, he loved him simply as the dear friend he missed from his childhood.
So as the years rolled on, Sudama's poverty got worse and worse until it was almost unbearable. And it's at this breaking point that his wife makes this desperate plea. A plea that would kick off a long, uncertain journey and lead to the most powerful moments in the whole story.
His wife, unable to stand seeing their children go hungry, finally said to him, "You're always talking about your dear friend Krishna. He's the Lord of Dwarka. If you just go to him, I'm sure he'll help us." Now, Sudama was really hesitant to go ask for a handout, but the chance to see his old friend again, that was just too powerful to resist.
Okay, so you can't visit a friend, especially a king, empty-handed. But what on earth could Sudama offer? Well, his wife went and borrowed 4 small handfuls of poha, or beaten rice, from their neighbors. She tied it all up in a raggedy old piece of cloth. It was the humblest, most meager gift imaginable, but it was all they had, and it was given with so much love.
So Sudama makes this long, hard journey to the golden city of Dwarka. Picture him, he's in torn clothes, he's barefoot, he looks completely out of place. He finally gets to the palace gates, and this is where the story's emotional climax just explodes. The palace guards are, of course, skeptical, but eventually the message makes its way to the king. And the second Krishna hears the name Sudama, everything changes. He literally leaps off his throne, forgets all about being a king, and runs barefoot through these incredible halls all the way to the main gate. And there he sees his old friend and just embraces him with tears of pure joy, not caring one bit about his dirty, torn clothes. And then, in this absolutely breathtaking show of love and humility, Krishna brings Sudama inside, sits him down on his own royal bed, and performs Pada Puja,
the sacred ritual of washing his friend's feet. Just try to imagine that scene. The entire royal court is watching in stunned silence as the King of Kings serves this poor, humble man with the deepest love and respect imaginable. It's just incredible.
So after this overwhelming reunion, it was time for the gift. Remember that tiny, tattered bundle Sudama had been carrying? Well, surrounded by all this unbelievable luxury, he was now deeply, deeply ashamed to even show it.
Krishna, of course, notices his friend's hesitation and playfully asks, "What have you brought for me? My sister-in-law must have sent something wonderful." Sudama tries to hide the little bundle, but Krishna, already knowing everything, just gently snatches it from him.
Krishna opens the cloth, takes out a handful of that dry, beaten rice and eats it with just absolute delight, saying it's the sweetest thing he's ever tasted. And with that one single bite, it's said that he divinely granted Sudama all the wealth and riches of the entire mortal world, just like that. Then, as Krishna reached for a second handful, his wife, Queen Rukmini, gently stopped him. And the reason was clear. That first handful granted all earthly wealth. A second handful would have granted all spiritual wealth, and even Krishna's own divine home, which would have forced the gods themselves to serve Sudama. She was protecting the balance of the whole cosmos.
Sudama stayed for a few days, just soaking in his friend's love, but he never, not once, asked for anything. His trip was about reconnecting, not about charity. And this leads to the story's final beautiful miracle.
And this part is so important. Sudama left Dwarka with his hands just as empty as when he arrived. But his heart, it was completely full. For him, just seeing his friend again was the greatest treasure. Asking for money would have felt like putting a price tag on their friendship, and he just couldn't do that.
But as he got closer to his village, he started to get confused. He couldn't find his broken-down old hut, because in its place stood a magnificent palace. And then his wife and children came out to greet him, dressed in beautiful silks and jewels. And Sudama understood in an instant. Krishna had heard the silent prayer in his heart and had given him everything without Sudama ever needing to say a single word.
So when you boil it all down, what does this incredible story leave us with? Well, first, it's about the power of devotion without asking for anything in return. Sudama's love was pure, and that was its own reward. It also screams that in a real friendship, things like status, money, and time are completely meaningless. And maybe the most beautiful lesson of all is that our deepest needs, they're understood by the ones who truly love us, even when we don't say a word.
It really leaves you with this one final thought to chew on. Krishna had all the gold in the world, literally, yet he ran barefoot for a friend who brought him nothing more than a handful of dry rice. It just makes you wonder, what is all the wealth in the world really worth if you don't have true connection?